Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the PONDCast. This is a podcast where we're doing a little bit of investigative work to answer your questions and really flesh out what's going on behind the scenes. Last week, if you guys didn't check that out, we had an expert from Microblip come and explain what's going on in the spring when you guys try to clean up all of the muck and grime that built up over the winter. What's the actual science behind that? This week, we're doing a little bit of a time warp. We're going to figure out where those koi came from and how it is that in, Long Island, New York, you have fish from Japan. Now, those guys obviously didn't, swim over here through the ocean. It's a family's fault. It's the LeFever's fault. So we have Casey LeFever from Blue Ridge Hatchery calling in today to tell us the history of how his family brought over the first koi. All right, Jim, well, we have a very special guest, Casey LeFever, the third generation of koi breeders, and your family's actually responsible for bringing some of our favorite fish here. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So my grandfather, Wyatt LeFever, had been involved in fish and fish farming most of his life, and I think it was in the early 60s that he saw an ad in a trade publication for koi from Japan. And so he cut out the ad and put it in an envelope with some money and sent it off to an address in Japan. And then I think it was maybe 6 weeks later or something, he got a call from somebody at, I think it was LaGuardia Airport in New York, and they said, Mr. LeFever, we have some fish up here for you that just came in, and I don't think he had any idea that they were on the way or that they were going to get there.
So they just sent you the fish?
How to get... What's up?
Like just fish just like arrived?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think communication was very good between businesses back then, not quite the way it is now. So yeah. He had to figure out how to get them down here as quickly as possible. And when he got them in, miraculously, some of them were still alive, and he put them out in a mud pond and grew them up for a year or two until they were at breeding size.
Wow.
And separated the males and females and started spawning, and then just took off from there.
That's crazy. And to be fair, he didn't really know how to care for that fish, in all fairness, right?
No, he didn't know anything specifically about koi, but he's the epitome of a green thumb, so he's never really met anything plant or animal in his life that he couldn't get a handle on pretty quickly. So
that's awesome. That's very cool. So, I guess some of this stuff might be lost. I mean, that's generations ago, right? So if you don't have a good answer for a question, by all means, I don't know what my great grandfather was doing. I think he was a priest or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right.
Yeah. So what was the process? He's like, okay, so I saved these fish. They're alive now. I guess I'll start selling them.
Yeah. So you got to remember, he had already been. He had grown up with his grandfather running a tropical fish farm, and so he was already involved in the fish business, and he had already been breeding and selling goldfish in the U.S. So he was already
it's a good background
in the industry. In a way, it wasn't. He didn't just jump feet first into an industry that he knew nothing about. He was just kind of taking the body of knowledge that he already had and the connections that he already had from the tropical fish farming and the goldfish farming, and then introducing a new product basically.
Very interesting. What was the actual specific species of fish that we're talking about here?
Goldfish are Carassius auratus is the Latin name.
Oh, you're hitting me with 10-cent words here.
Are Cyprinus carpio.
All right. And has he ever seen these koi before? He just thought, he's like, hey, that's a beautiful picture. I bet everyone would like these. Like, how did he put that together? That might even be a business.
I think that if I remember correctly, the trade publication that he ordered from had an article about koi and how they were, a cold water fish, and they were winter hardy, and everybody loved them, and they were such a popular thing in Japan. So he had some basic knowledge about koi and what they were before he actually got his hands on any. he just hadn't seen any in person until he got that shipment in. He'd only read about them and had an idea from trade publications and, basically magazines and things that he read.
Well, you know what the crazy thing is like most people refer to their pond now as a koi pond.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's the fish. No one wants to come see a goldfish. Yeah, that's crazy. You guys completely changed over the entire industry. So you have a mud pit, or a mud pond rather, and there's these new fish swimming in it, and now you guys, like, what's this turned into for you guys? How many koi are you guys breeding a year?
We breed a few million koi per year.
Wow.
We only end up keeping a small percentage of those, though. Depending on the variety of koi that you're breeding, you keep anywhere between 2 and 10% of the offspring, because the genes that give koi the color that make them so attractive are recessive genes. So you're never going to be able to breed two koi together and have 100% offspring that have the color that you're looking for. Like 90 to 98% of them are colorless. They just kind of look like your run-of-the-mill common carp, and you don't want to keep those. So we breed millions of fish per year, but we only end up keeping a small percentage of those.
That's crazy. That's really wild.
Are all those fish bred in the same area, the general North Carolina and Virginia area?
Yeah, we have 5 farms. We have we have a farm that we ship out of that's here in Kernersville, North Carolina, and it's kind of our headquarters. It's where all the fish are quarantined. It's where our office is located, where we handle all of the marketing and sales and customer service. And then we have 4 other farms that are all within an hour's drive of here. So they're north of here: Patrick County, Virginia; Surrey County, North Carolina, that sort of area. So they're all in the same basic location.
Fantastic.
Well, hey, I appreciate you getting on the line, and we'd like to call you guys back in whenever we have a koi-related question. Obviously, I would consider you guys probably the highest experts we could call. Where can people find you, by the way, before we sign off for the podcast today?
You can check out Blue Ridge at blueridgekoi.com. It would probably be the best place to go.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all those links down below. And until next time, guys, you can listen to us wherever you guys find your podcast. This has been the PONDCast. Thank you very much. We'll catch you guys next time. So obviously, Blue Ridge Hatchery isn't bringing every single koi that they have over from overseas, and neither would you really want them to. But in a little while, we're going to actually have them back. We had a really interesting customer question. Somebody found some eggs in their pond, and they called into us and they were like, hey, what do I do with these eggs? I want to make some koi. And the interesting response is, no, you don't. So we'll get back to them in a later episode, and we will kind of figure out why that's a bad idea. But that was a really interesting side conversation that we had, and I think we're going to make that into its own little special feature. Basically, if you have eggs growing in your pond, do you really want to deal with that? Yes, no, and why? Till next time, guys, take care and enjoy your pond.